Peace, family, peace, peace, peace. I hope you guys are having such a phenomenal day. If not, to understand and get your day, your life is going to get better once your perception gets better. Let's talk about getting rid of that story, shall we? 1 second. Oh, shoot. So, you are going to have to get rid of that story. Now, oftentimes we may say, but I don't have a story, or we all have a story. Or you may even say, I don't tell people what happened to me, while I was a child, or what happened in my past. You may not tell people, but subconsciously you have it playing in the background, okay, in your subconscious mind. And whatever you are not aware of, you're going to keep on doing the same exact things over and over and over again, thinking that life, hey Tavia, I think that's how you pronounce your name, thinking that life is out to get you, thinking that God don't want to see you win, thinking that you have come here to suffer, thinking that you don't deserve love. Now, all these different examples is maybe going on in your subconscious mind. Okay. Now, I told you guys, when I was a kid, I had a story surrounded around love. Okay. That love was supposed to be a certain type of way. Love was supposed to be abused. Love was supposed to be, you pretty much chasing after the person, and the person may show that they're not available. Okay. And as long as I was to have that story, and what I mean by having that story is, so the ones that's out there that says, well, Dina, I don't share my story, what happened to me when I was a child. But if you have the same exact story based upon what is coming into your life, the people that's coming into your life, okay, the circumstances that are showing up. Now, I'm not saying once in a blue, okay, things don't come up. But if you see that there's an ongoing thing, for instance, I know this person who she is so sweet, okay, but her being sweet and being kind is not going to stop her from getting what she get from the universe. Okay, get what she get, and she get what she get based upon her self-image of herself. See, she don't go around every day telling people about her upbringing, about how her father was unavailable and the things that occurred in her life. But she keep on getting the same exact thing. You know why she keep getting the same exact thing? Because subconsciously she has this story going on in the subconscious mind. She don't deserve love. She's not enough. Okay. That she has to give, whether it's her body, that she has to give in order for someone to love her. All right. And very kind, very giving. Okay. But that is not going to, God is not finna give you things if you have this subconscious story going on in the back of your subconscious mind that you don't deserve love. How could God get through to you if you have in your subconscious mind you're not worthy of love. And she's very sweet. Like I said, she giving, but she's also a nice person. And nice is derived from that, and it actually means foolish. So although somebody on the outside looking in could say, damn, she is so giving, she deserves the best of the best. But subconsciously, in her subconscious mind, she feels she don't deserve a man that is going to love her, a man that is going to respect her, a man that is going to honor her and cherish her subconsciously. The other day I was watching, I don't know if you guys watch her. Oh, thank you. But I was watching this sister named Shay. Okay, Shay, your love diva. And I've been watching Shay for a minute. And she's on Facebook, but she has a 7-figure business. And her business is based upon helping women to break their break the patterns of what's preventing them from finding love. Okay, well, not finding love, but becoming aligned with their ideal partner. Right now, I took Shay's quiz. Is an assessment. Really, it's an assessment. I took her assessment a few months ago, right? And I scored in the high 70s, right? And on the assessment, it still was saying, like, I have more work to do. Basically, the assessment is asking you questions based upon to see like where you at subconsciously. So then the other day I took the assessment and I said, God darn, I got like a 40, I got like a 49, a 48, 49. And I said, God damn, went from a high 70 to a 49. And I remember I was like, oh my goodness, and I was looking at myself and stuff like that. The chatter in the mind is always going to tell you something. So the chatter in my mind was saying, oh, you never gonna get married, like all these different things, right? And I never forgot the question that still stand out and stuck out to me up until today was, do you feel like you have to make it happen, right? And one of the response I gave was yes. Okay. And one of the things that I needed to understand is if I'm in this mindset of I have to make it happen, things have to happen a certain time, then the masculine men that I desire, okay, there cannot be two people that are in their masculine energy at the same time, predominantly in a masculine energy. Now, we all have both, okay? Men have a masculine part and a feminine part, all right? Women have a masculine and a feminine part. Now, men operate more, okay, unless, you gay. But if you heterosexual, you operate more so in your masculine energy, okay? And if you're a woman, heterosexual woman, you operate more so in your feminine energy. And so sometimes the roles has been, I don't want to say sometimes, but the roles have been reversed, okay? In our society, we see that is more women that are more so in their masculine energy more so than they are in their feminine energy. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is if you keep doing the same thing, it's not for you to beat yourself up for what life is showing you, right? So, say for instance, you get into a relationship, the relationships that you get into, they pretty much all the same, you know. You can always know what type of relationship you are about to enter into if you observe yourself or if you listen to yourself and watch yourself. What are some of the conversations that you tend to have around love? Now, some people think that love is supposed to hurt. Okay. Some people believe that love is based upon, you know, what I can give you, right? That's love. And I also know that you need to know what your love language is. The other day, I was talking to my oldest son, who is 22, and I bring my oldest son up a lot because we have like these in-depth conversations. And so he was complaining about, you know, some of the things that, oh, thank you for subscribing. He was complaining about some of the things that he has been experiencing with women. And one of the things that I have said to him was, well, what type of lady do you desire? So he said to me, he said, I don't know. So I said, you don't know? Let me tell you something. If you don't know what you desire for your life, how could you receive if you don't know what you desire? You and even if you was to receive it, you would be so out of tune. And we often say love is unconditional, but do we really believe that? Do we really believe love is unconditional? Or do we say it because we heard other people say it? Because if you really believe love is unconditional, you're not trying to change anyone. Meaning, you're willing to accept the person exactly the way they is. The way they is, you're willing to accept them. Is this lovely couple? Well, appears to be lovely, okay? Because, you know, we don't know how people are behind closed doors, but they appear to be lovely. And the wife, one of the things she says she's not trying to change her husband, and her husband don't try to change her, right? It's days where as though she don't feel like doing absolutely anything around the house, and her husband doesn't say, you know, well, this needs to be done, you know, that need to be done. She said her husband will say, you know what, take a break. You really deserve it, right? And when we say love is unconditional, first of all, you have to learn how to love yourself unconditionally. When you get things wrong or it appears that you done messed up, or you gentle with yourself, you know, and in order for us to love someone, and I always bring these books up because it holds so much truth in them, and it is the 4 agreements and mastery of love. Okay. And those books, I remember reading one part that is saying, you know, when you get into a relationship, first of all, you need to go through different relationships, because how would you know? How would you know? Right? How would you know? Is the experiences that you tend to go through that you see, like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't want this. So it's not about beating yourself up. You know, it's not about beating yourself up. Oh, I should have known better. You know, this is the fourth relationship. It was just like my ex, just like my past relationships, you know. How would you how would you know if everything in life is set up for the greater good of you, right? For you to win in life. You can't fail and you can't mess up. Okay? You can't fail and you can't mess up. And so is if it wasn't for those relationships that pretty much they all reflected you to yourself. They all showed you exactly how you felt about yourself, what you was willing to tolerate, okay, how you didn't have any boundaries. And when you look at those relationships that you may have gotten into, it is not for you to say, dang it, you know, I done messed up again. No, it's for you to say, you know what? What has this relationship taught me? What has it taught me? And if you can see what those relationships, and if you don't, if you aren't able to see what those relationships taught you, then you just repeat the course again. All right. And I mean, it's not for you to say, dang, I gotta repeat the course again. No, it's for you to understand that you are being set up to win. If it's not for a horrible paycheck, okay, what you deem to be horrible, how would you know? How would you know that you deserve more? When will you say to yourself, like, you know what, I deserve more than this? When we come across people that treat us, you know, some say mean, that treat us mean, we want them to treat us nice. When we are earning a certain amount of money, we want to earn more, right? When you are when you have been in a relationship that may have been abusive, you know, and not just physically, it could been have emotionally, mentally, right? But when you've been in those types of situations, it is for you to get the lessons, so you can see, I deserve better than this. Now, in here, listen to this. Now, this is Mastery of Love. I talked about this book so many times. This author, I love his work, Don Miguel Ruiz. He has so many amazing books. I have two of his books. This and A Full Agreement is absolutely phenomenal. And this is what it says: to master a relationship is all about you. The first step is to become aware. You have to be aware. And in the words of the Mystic Path, Vernon Howard, the Mystic Path to Cosmic. Wait, is it the Cosmic, the Mystic Path, the Mystic Path? Okay, Vernon Howard. In that book, I remember Vernon Howard had told one of his students, because this student, you know, after class came to him and said, how is it, you know, I hear what you're talking about, and you know, you saying that we have to be aware and all this other stuff. And basically the student was like that he experienced a lot of anger. Okay. He experienced a lot of anger. And one of the things Vernon Howard said was the reason why the anger keep on persisting because you pretty much is trying to suppress the anger. You don't want people to see that you get angry. So the moments that you get angry, you condemn yourself. You beat yourself up. You tell yourself you shouldn't be angry. You shouldn't feel that way. Okay. And as long as you do this, then you're suppressing the anger, which is going to make the anger bigger. And so Vernon Howard also said to the student, he said, when you feel the need to be angry, be angry. He said, but don't condemn yourself. Okay? Don't beat yourself up. Don't try to suppress it. And when you are aware that you are angry, okay, awareness is the most powerful thing because whatever you are aware of, that's when you can take a look. That's when awareness is great because now you have the ability to change your life. You have the ability to look at your life and say, you know what? I've been getting this, and I know if I do X, Y, and Z, that I am going to get this. Okay. So let me do something that may frighten me a little. Let me do something that is totally abnormal, okay, than what I have been doing. All right. And it's for you to do something different. But for whatever reason, how many times that you have to repeat the course, okay? Don't beat yourself up. In the words of Vernon Howard, one of the things he said was, he said, a student that's in the 4th grade don't condemn or beat themselves up because they feel the need that they should be in the 5th grade. They get the lessons of the 4th grade and then they move to the 5th grade. And that's the same thing in life, okay? Get the lessons and then you move to the next grade. Now, the first step is to become aware. To know that everyone dreams his own dream. Once you know this, you can be responsible for your half of the relationship, which is you. If you know that you are only responsible for your half of the relationship, you can easily control your half. It is not up to us to control the other half. Okay? If we respect, we know that our partner, our friend, our son, or mother is completely responsible for his or her own half. If we respect the other half, there is always going to be peace in that relationship. There is no war. Next, if you know what is love and what is fear, you become aware of the way you communicate your dream to others. The quality of communication. Now, I remember with my children, right? And I'm gonna give my oldest children as an example. Okay. So when I was growing up, it was basically like it was strict. You know, when my father raised me, it wasn't that strict, okay? It wasn't really any rules or anything like that with my father. And I pretty much could do whatever it was that I wanted to do. I remember being probably about 6 years old. And if I wanted to walk the streets and stuff like that, I could walk the streets. Okay. I grew up kind of quick. Okay. And so I remember, after I moved, after I was taken from my father, okay, by DYFS, I remember that I went to go stay. First, I went to go stay in a foster home, then in a group home, and then later on, my aunt had got custody of me. And I remember my aunt, because of the way I grew up, she wanted to prevent me. She wanted to prevent me from experiencing the things that I may have seen when my father had custody of me. Okay. So it was strict. And as a kid, you know, coming from a place where is just so pretty much unsupervised, no rules, sort of no foundation really, to go into a place where as though you're being told you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, is almost a shock. And so being around it, and I'm so grateful for those experiences, because let me tell you something, I got a taste of both worlds. What it would be like in a world where as though is no rules, is no, you pretty much do it, whatever it is, what you want. In that sense, I was mainly shown by my father that it'd be consequences, right? Like my father, he wasn't always going to be around, around me every step of the way when I was out by myself. So it was shown to me, like, you're going to be held accountable for whatever it is that you do. My father wasn't going to be the helicopter parent. He was not finna do that. But on the other end with my aunt, it was more so structured. It was more so, rules, and more so a little helicoptering, okay? But it taught me something, right? And it taught me that in life we have choices that we get to make. And depending on what choices you make, you shall be given whatever consequence it is. Now, it can be a good consequence or a bad consequence, right? Consequences are just consequences. They're not good or bad. It's just whatever you say, your perception of them. And so then when I had children of my own, especially my two oldest children, they got it the most. Controlling. I was a helicopter mom. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. Trying to prevent them from making their own choices and decisions, because subconsciously I felt that if they made I felt like they wouldn't be able to handle life. Okay. And it's so crazy because they came into this world by themselves, okay? And for you to think that they can't handle life is basically saying that you don't trust that you have raised them a certain type of way, or that you don't trust that God is with them each and every day, okay? And so I would be a helicopter parent. I didn't want them to do certain things because, oh my goodness, if they mess up or if they do something, it's going to destroy them, right? And so I remember, and I tell this story a lot because I remember one day I was meditating and I would have these, what's a helicopter? A helicopter it's not just a helicopter mom. It could be a helicopter dad too. A helicopter parent is a parent that basically is over your children basically all the time. You don't want your children to make their own decisions, okay? It's like you prevent them from doing certain things that they would be able to learn from. They can't do this, they can't do that. It's like you just all in their business. For instance, if they doing their homework and you afraid that they could get the answer wrong, okay? You all over their homework and stuff like that, as opposed to let them do their homework, or because as long as you are a helicopter parent, your children, they will not be able to make choices, make decisions on their own. Because why? Because you always meddling in a business. You always giving your opinion, your 2 cents. And there's so many people. And I remember for a long time I didn't know how to make decisions on my own, so I would call my mother. Oh, Mom, what you think I should do? As opposed to having a mind of my own and make my own decision on what I should do. Or meditating, going within and meditating, okay? And getting the answers from my higher self, God self, okay? And then making my decisions. And so I remember one day, this was, I just started meditating and stuff like that. And I remember I was meditating, and my oldest son, he just snuck out the house. And a part of me, I felt like, oh my goodness, like I am so sick of this kid doing pretty much what he want to do. Right. And oftentimes you would be met with resistance. You will be met with rebellion because why? Because you trying to get them, whatever you try to persist or try to resist is going to persist. So as long as I'm like, don't go out there and stuff like that. If you do this, this is going to happen and stuff like that. He wanted to see if certain things I said would occur. And so I remember one night, 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had got up and I went to check my youngest and oldest son because at the time they were sharing a room. And I went in a room. My oldest son was nowhere to be found. He wasn't in a bed. He was messing with the girl, okay, that lived across the street. And they have a child together now. Okay, my grandbaby. But I remember when he was messing with her, okay. When you're not a helicopter parent, it's not that. I'm gonna give a few more examples. So my son, he was gone. So I got up and I locked the door. Okay. Now I start meditating. It was late in the morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm meditating. And I said in my meditation session, why do I keep going through this? And a response that came back to me was because control. It just said control. And I knew instantly it was telling me because of my controlling ways. Okay. Now, fast forward. Now, my son, only thing you can do to your children is lead by example, and you can tell them some of the, because I used to be one of those parents that felt like I can't tell my children some of the things that I did when I was a kid, because if I do, then they'll make those same exact decisions. And that's not true. That's not true. I think when you are able to tell your children the things and the decisions that you have made when you was a child, it's like, I'm telling you this, but at the end of the day, you make your own choices because they're not going to be with you 24/7. Okay. And so, so control came up. And I remember having a conversation with my oldest children, and basically they were saying that I was too controlling, that I pretty much won't let them make their own decisions. Okay. And my oldest son, then I told my children about me being pregnant when I was young. And I told my children this. And so at the end of the day, your children, they still gonna make their own decisions. If they don't do it in front of you, okay, if you so strict, they will do it behind your back. Now, some people may be like, no, my children are never. Okay, holier than thou. Okay. So my oldest son, the girl, she lived across the street, and he would go there. It came to the point where as though the girl mother saw allowing my son to come see her daughter. And my son wound up getting the girl pregnant. Okay. So now he's 16 years old. The girl, or was he 17? Probably about 16. He wound up getting a girl pregnant. Okay. And when he got the girl pregnant, I remember I was upset because I was like, oh my goodness, you still a child, and you done got the girl pregnant and stuff like that. And I was just like, really upset. And then I had to come to the understanding of that's his life. Okay. You talked to him, you told him certain things, that's his life. And one of the things I told him, I said, well, you got the girl pregnant, you're going to have to raise the baby. That's your responsibility. Okay. And so all this time we spend, we try to prevent our children, and oftentimes we may be pushing our children towards that because if you're a helicopter person, helicopter parent, and you're like, oh, I don't want this to happen, this to happen, this to happen, it can be a part of you that's pushing them into whatever it is, okay? Because you so strict. You so strict. It's basically you saying that they don't have a mind of their own. They don't know how to make right choices, okay? Right or wrong choices, whatever it is. But get rid of the story, okay? In the story, some of you guys may be like, but I'm not telling nobody my story. I'm not going around telling people my story. You may not be telling people your story, okay, consciously, but subconsciously you are. And what I mean by that is when you get into all these situations, you may not be saying it verbally. Oh, well, I grew up this way, but you're saying it subconsciously. And when I say stop telling the story, and oftentimes people, when you are saying it to the ones that say it verbally, when you are going around telling people the story, it's like you want people to understand why you're not where you desire to be. Or you telling the story because you want attention, or you telling the story so they can get your understanding on why your life worked out the way it did. Okay. But that's not important. What's important is how are you going to move from point A to get to point B? And it's definitely not by telling your story over and over and over again, but also getting the empowerment of the story, the lessons of the story. Why did it occur? Oh my goodness, I got this lesson from it. How can I inspire others? And oftentimes you are living your life based on selfishness, thinking that, oh, everything happened, it was just for me. Don't you know that the things that occurred to you is not for you, is for other people that you can inspire? But you first have to get the lessons. You have to get those lessons first in order to let somebody else know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. In order to let somebody else know that where they are today, they do not have to be there tomorrow. If you plan on telling your story, tell it from a place of empowerment. Tell it from a place of empowerment. Tell it from a place that is going to uplift someone. Tell it from a place that is going to inspire someone, and not from a place of that there's no hope, okay? That there's no hope, because there is hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It really is. And you have to see that and understand it. But you have to get the lessons. And whatever the amount of time it shall take, that is okay. But you don't condemn, beat yourself up because you're not getting the lessons. You ask yourself simply. And instead of jumping, hopping, skipping into every relationship, you take a moment and you say, well, what was self-reflect? What was this last relationship trying to teach me? Or what has it come to teach me? And you get those lessons. And I guarantee you, if you get those lessons, you won't repeat that in your next relationship because of self-awareness. And with that being said, ladies and gents, I love you guys. Keep rocking out, believing in yourself. Keep going, keep growing. Until next time, okay? Mastery, The Mastery of Love. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal. Okay. Rock out.